Welcome to Golden Mastermind Seminars Radio with your host, Jeffrey Combs.
Good afternoon, Jeffrey Combs on Tuesday, 2-4 Tuesday. Good to be here with you. We are just 2 days away from Thanksgiving, so it's a breathe, release, and let go day. It's a very overcast day in Central California, so I am honored to be here, Jared. Good to see you, Jared. I'm looking forward to seeing you in 1 week. 1 week from Thursday, Jared, will be the event Millionaire Blueprint. So if you're attending that event, it will be absolutely a game on event. I will be on fire. So if you're attending that event, and there is room for one ticket left. I have shut the event down to 15 people, and I have 14 confirmed registered attendees. So if you're watching this content, and David Hammer, you are one of them. David, say hello to Jared. Jared, hello to David. You're both going to be attending Millionaire Blueprint along with Josh and Yuritsa. So I want to welcome everyone from Josh's team. Alexis, good to see you here this afternoon. And the content for today's live is called Non-Attachment. It's a very applicable topic for today's Facebook Live. It is a topic that is very misunderstood, and not many people really grasp what it means or the application of non-attachment. Now, for those of you who have ever practiced 12-step recovery and you've been in the group Al-Anon or CODA, which I am, the 12 steps of that book covers detachment. Chapter 5 of Melody Beatty's book uses the term detachment. It's a very, very misunderstood topic, so I'm covering it for you today. So if you're in sales, branding, marketing, you own a business, and you're prospecting, recruiting, building a team, learning the skills of non-attachment is essential. It is absolutely a skill so that your pride and your ego does not get in the way of your production. But if your pride and your ego gets in the way of your production, then you will feel that attachment, which then feels like rejection, abandonment, and resentment, and then that becomes the payoff. Now, this book right here is a game-changing book. It's called The Map of the Scale of Consciousness Explained, and it is one of the few books that mentions, or one of the few places that even mentions the content non-attachment. There's not a chapter on it. There's not multiple pages on it. It's just a small paragraph. What non-attachment means, it means that exactly what it says. You're in your consciousness, you're not attached to the outcome. So if someone criticizes you, you're able to be in your higher self humility, and you're humble enough not to personalize it. And if someone is giving you constructive criticism, which there is no such thing because it's a contradiction. So constructive and criticism do not fit. So someone is criticizing you. It's not constructive. If someone is giving you insight and wisdom, the energy behind the insight and wisdom is different than constructive criticism. Constructive criticism is personal, where insight and wisdom is more from a mentor for you today, because non-attachment is the skill of letting go. The first situation you do to be non-attached is you have to have no excuses around non-attachment. The ego will attach itself to family and make allowances for it. Well, how do you do it when it's your family? You do it whether it's your family or it's not your family, because when you're not attached, you're non-attached. If you're attached, you created a condition out of it. So when you're non-attached, then you're practicing codependent recovery. One of the most challenging skills that for my clients to understand is attachment, and we get attached. So this is why grief is such a prevalent emotion, because we get attached. So we get attached to our animals, or we're attached to our family. Well, how do you not grieve your family? You do it by being non-attached. You can celebrate your family's life or the passing of a death of an animal, a friend, etc., but you're not obligated to be attached. You can be non-attached and still celebrate their life. So if you drop down into apathy and grief, you've taken your energy all the way to the bottom of the map of the scale of consciousness. And the minute your ego says, yeah, but, now you're creating a condition. You're creating an excuse. You're giving yourself an out to relapse. In higher consciousness, you're able to stay in the courage, the acceptance, and the willingness to be and stay in a relaxed body while practicing the skill of letting go. You're human, so you're going to get attached. You're going to be attached. So that's part of life. Improving on that, though, is being able to recognize and understand your attachments. So if you're a codependent people pleaser, there's a high probability that you have many attachments. Codependency is based on enabling, over-obligating, doing more for others than you do for yourself, putting yourself last, setting yourself up to be disappointed, doing more for someone with an expectation they can't fulfill so that you are disappointed. And when you begin to recognize this and you begin to move into your own humility of it, it can be very liberating as you let go of the attachments. But the ego will chronically find a way to relapse back into a familiar feeling. So I'm going to show you just how small this section is in David Hawkins' book. So the chapter is called Guidance for Spiritual Seekers. This is the only place that I've ever seen Hawkins in the over 20 plus books I've read of his, where he says practice non-attachment. And he breaks down the difference from detachment and non-attachment. Detachment is from indifference and anger, where non-attachment is from peace and the skill of letting go. So when you're not attached to the outcome. So when someone doesn't buy from you, you're not turning it into rejection. When someone doesn't call on you to contribute at an event, you're not spending the rest of the day brooding and pouting, telling yourself a story and making them wrong and you feeling bad or you feeling violated based on the story. You're able to see the situation for what it is, breathe, release, and let go because you are not attached. Even in a marriage or a family, when someone violates you or someone cheats or has an affair in a non-attached state, you're not saying they cheated on me. You're able to say they had an affair. Now, if you had a role in that, then you would be able to own your role in this situation without being attached. You would be able to forgive yourself, forgive other people without being attached. But the ego wants vengeance. The ego wants to be right. The ego wants to attack someone. The ego, and this is how enemies are created. This is why we are where we are in our country, in our world, because we're in this great divide. And this great divide is all part of trauma-based mind control. When you have been traumatized, you've been victimized, you've been singled out, or you were physically abused, sexually abused, emotionally abused, the lower self-ego oftentimes will repress the feelings or suppress the feelings. The repressed feelings are the ones that we forget about. We forget about them, we stuff them down, and we don't remember them, and then we live in brain fog the rest of our life saying, I don't remember my childhood. Or we live in denial telling ourselves that we had a great childhood when really we didn't, and then we continue to sabotage ourselves over and over in our intimate, personal, business relationships to fulfill our feelings because we're attached to the outcome. When you're attached to the outcome, you will personalize it. You'll make people wrong. You'll make yourself wrong. You'll criticize yourself. When you're not attached to the outcome, you won't be critical of yourself. You'll be honest with yourself. There's a major distinction. There's a major valley. There's a big bridge you cross when you let go of criticizing yourself and being honest with yourself. Because when you criticize yourself, you're in courage. When you let go of criticizing yourself, you're in courage. When you criticize yourself, you're in resentment. You're resenting yourself or you're resenting someone else to fulfill the neurochemical craving of not being good enough. When you're non-attached, you can move up the map of the scale of consciousness and begin to improve who and what you attract. When you're in sales, branding, and marketing, there are people who are going to be resentful of you. There are people who are going to be envious of you. There are going to be people who are jealous. And when you live in higher consciousness, there won't be that many. And even when there are, you'll be able to see the error of other people's ways without personalizing it. And you'll be able to step out of that energy without spending a lot of time overthinking it. When you're attached, you will process, you'll think, you'll analyze, you'll justify, you'll validate, you'll make up excuses, and you'll spend a lot of your most valuable commodity time processing, thinking, and analyzing, procrastinating, and avoiding. When you are no longer the mind-body connection, when you're no longer the mind-body connection to the events that shape the feelings, then you're living in higher consciousness. And that is a very liberating experience, because then you're in a space where very little affects you, because you're not holding on to feelings of abandonment, of rejection, and stories, and you're not holding on to the past. You're focused on the present, you're focused on solution, and you're able to surrender to God some of these character defects that you hold on to, so you can be and stay in a relaxed body one day at a time. So the term "as cool as the other side of the pillow," ice in your veins, would be applicable, or you're able to ice the situation for what it is, and you're able to not personalize it. And there are people, there are narcissists, there are perpetrators, and there are violators who will move in and out of your life, and it's going to be your responsibility to spot these people and then not form an attachment to them. Now, if you grew up in drama, you were abused, there's a high probability that you will attract these people over and over to your reality until the pain is great enough, until you grasp the magnitude of the situation and start to have healthier boundaries. And once you start to have healthier boundaries, your relationships will begin to improve. But if you put conditions on these boundaries and say, well, they're my parents, or they're my family, or it's my brother or my sister, well, you just set yourself up to be violated, because it's going to require rigorous honesty on your part to be able to separate yourself from these people. Now, the holidays are right around the corner. So the holidays are recipes for conflict for certain people and certain families, because every family has the jokester. Every family has a narcissist. Every family has family drama. And so if you participate in this drama, you're setting yourself up to get the life sucked out of you by the spiritual, emotional vampires that you continue to give power to. But when you are in your own power and you're not in someone else's force, then you're breathing, you're releasing, and you're letting go. You're separate from rather than attached to. And so when someone will make a remark to you that isn't favorable, you won't react to it. You won't feel violated, and or you won't feel attacked. When you feel attacked, the other person who's doing the attacking then harvests your energy, and they have effectively started to steal your soul. And when you begin to understand how this dynamic operates, you will no longer be the mind-body connection to the events that shape your feelings. Well, how do I have boundaries when it's my family or it's my employer? It's the same way you do with anyone. You have clearly defined boundaries with everyone in life. And you become clear on this because you are your own best person. You're your own best self. And you determine who you let into your life. It's your responsibility. And when you become clear on that, some of the dysfunctional relationships that you've participated in will begin to heal because you're healing yourself. You're taking care of you, not worrying about someone else. And when you're able to do this, you'll be able to say, you can't visit me. No, you can't stay with me. I can't loan you that money. And then you'll also begin to let go of the guilt associated with the trauma that you hold on to. One of the reasons that many people stay in dysfunctional relationships is because of these two emotions, resentment and guilt. So you end up feeling too guilty to have clearly defined boundaries because of your attachment. And then you feel resentful for the person who took advantage of you because you didn't have the boundaries. Now, when you begin to understand that dynamic and start to practice discipline and emotional recovery, then you're going to start to heal in a more unique way than you've been healing. And you will also witness and participate in people showing up in ways synchronistically that they haven't been showing up. When you let go of a traumatic relationship, when you walk away from a career or a job that does not serve you, and you're practicing recovery and sobriety and higher consciousness while walking away, it's very common for the person who walks away to attract a more unique opportunity that's much more spiritual, it's much more available, and the relationships are going to be much better. Because what you've done is just create an allow space. You've allowed yourself the courage to look at the situation for what it is and no longer be the victim or victimized by the situation, and you have stepped into your higher power and you have moved on. And when you begin to do this, you will begin to change over time who and what you attract in a relaxed body. As you begin to let go of being sensitive and defensive, as you begin to let go of the anger family of anger, hate, resentment, frustration, disappointment, as you're letting go of this trauma that you've held on to, then you are no longer the mind-body connection to the events that shape the feelings. This is extremely liberating as you begin to do this. As you practice non-attachment, you will not find yourself in the dramatic relationships, the traumatic relationships. You will not find yourself attacked by perpetrators and violators. You will not be surrounded by the narcissists that you grew up with, because you start to develop clearly defined boundaries, putting yourself first, free of guilt. It can be a very liberating experience. Now, on the email that went out to my database, if you're on my email list, this went out yesterday. And so there are 7 points. If you're not on the email list, you can go to my website, goldenmastermind.com, and you can sign up for the content that goes out every Monday. So you'll see right here, detachment versus non-attachment. That's right there. That's point 1. And point 2 was anxiety, fear, and doubt. And anxiety, fear, and doubt is why we do a lot of what we do. And we stay in the same emotional state over and over to fulfill the neurochemical craving, which is the cortisol adrenaline of fight or flight, that we continue to live in that energy, in that anxiety, and then we worry all the time. Worrying all the time is an attachment. As you let go of worrying, then you're not attached to the outcome that hasn't happened. Worry also is a component of regret. When you're letting go of the past, then you're not attached to it. But if you continue to hold on to it and create circumstances and conditions around your past, and then use the preposition yeah, but, or but, and so but still connects you to that. As you begin to separate yourself from that, then you're becoming more and more non-attached. And in sales, branding, and marketing, when you have performance anxiety, you're attached to making mistakes, getting in trouble, saying the wrong thing, being rejected, being abandoned, or being neglected, or whatever the situation is, because you're attached. When you're not attached, you can let prospects go easily and effortlessly, because you can tell their excuses don't qualify for your time. When they tell you they're going to get back to you and they don't, and you're not attached, you understand that was about them, not you. And when you're not attached in sales and marketing, you won't continue to stalk people and follow up with them, because when you're in sales and marketing, you keep following up with a non-qualified buyer. You're attached because you're desperate. Your ego requires instant gratification, so you're seeking that sale to fulfill your low self-esteem. When you're not attached, you're not desperate, and then you don't waste your time with people who don't qualify for it. The more you understand attachment and non-attachment, you will have a much better understanding of codependent recovery. So codependency is when you grow up in a family, you lose your innocence, you lose your childhood, you become a caretaker in that family, and then other people begin to depend on you while you're a child, which sets you up as a grown-up to attract the same situation to fulfill the same set of feelings. So if you're building a team or a culture, or you're dating, mating, and marrying, if you don't address this as an adult child of an addict, alcoholic, or adult child of narcissist, you'll just continue to attract the same situation to fulfill the same set of feelings, tiptoeing quietly through life, arriving at your grave safely in the greatest pain, the pain of worry and the pain of regret. As you have a better understanding of why you do what you do, and you're able to acknowledge this through rigorous honesty and separate your feelings from the events that shape them and practice non-attachment, then you won't feel as wounded, violated, traumatized, taken advantage of, and you won't set yourself up as frequently to fulfill these dysfunctional relationships to fulfill your disappointment, which is the payoff. I see a lot of new people here today, so thank you for joining my content today. My name is Jeffery Combs. I am the president and founder of Golden Mastermind Seminars Incorporated. Immediately after this Facebook Live, I will hit the record button, which will be available for replay. So if you'd like to listen to it more than once, feel free to listen to it right here. I'll be back here tonight on Facebook Live. I do Facebook Live late, so that's 12 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, 9 p.m. Pacific, and have an outstanding holiday season here in this new prosperity that we're just stepping into. 2024, as we end the year, 2025 are going to be exceptional financial years and years of reciprocity and prosperity. Do your best to be your best in a relaxed body and breathe, release, and let go.